Good evening, everybody. I'm Grim Reaper, and with me, as always,
Cynical Squid.
and
And PerryThePig. Hello.
and tonight we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only VisionGL himself. How you doing, Vision?
Not too bad. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Very good to have you here, man. Very good to be able to meet the man in person who takes and puts together the tournaments for the weekend and then loves to torture us whenever we give terrible screenshots.
That's that was Shaori. Blame her.
So I've been talking about this particular podcast for a while. I've been telling everyone that I find on Twitch that we're gonna have this podcast right here, and Vision's gonna tell us about the format of what the weekend races will be for the future for 084. But before we get to that, I want to make sure that everyone who's on Spotify, YouTube, Twitch chat right now live, that everyone who's watching knows who you are and what to expect when they see your content. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I need some kind of give me a starting point.
Starting point, sure. So how about how long you've been playing Last Epoch and what got you into it? How about that?
All right. I started playing Last Epoch, January 2020. I had been streaming for a few months. I was looking for a new game to stream, and I don't even remember how I found Last Epoch. I was looking around the Steam store, but ended up picking it up and ended up playing it quite a bit. It was actually a lot of fun, even back in the early days when there was a lot less there. And I don't know, I started to build really my own first community there, and that was pretty nice to have a group of regulars, and then that kind of expanded as I met like Boardman and McFluffin, and our communities kind of all became the Last Epoch community, or at least that's how it was when I started up. I know there was like a group before me too. Those two.
I feel like I'm still catching up on all the old names. Like there are people who are like coming back into the Last Epoch community now that we've had like the 083 expansion, the 084 expansion, new gear, legendary classes, and these people are trickling back in. And it's like, oh, I know you from a year and a half ago. And it's like, was Last Epoch a game a year and a half ago? I feel like I'm
that's funny.
blood.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like even back then there are people still playing a year before me even. It's wild to think about.
It's an awfully long time. So you've been building up your community. Can you tell us about what got you started doing the like community events, the races, the weekend stuff?
Originally there was another event going on. Anybody that recognizes I Do Damage. It used to be month-long hardcore tournaments, and I wanted to do something a little bit shorter. So I started up the original weekend sprint, and then that was on softcore, just for the people that were non-hardcore players. And that's basically it. It started out, it's evolved and changed so many times in this long. But I think those started up in like February, pretty soon after I came over here.
And you've been doing those every single weekend? Almost every weekend?
Yeah, I think there's like there was maybe one or two patches where the ladder just like straight up there was no ladder. But other than that, yeah, every single weekend for the most part, except for like a couple weeks here and there waiting for the next patch or a break between like hardcore, softcore like we were doing.
So I talk about this a little bit because I come from primarily the Path of Exile community. Played a lot of Path of Exile in the past before jumping over to Last Epoch. And I know that there are so many people out there who just like love racing. People like there used to be race seasons in Path of Exile a long time ago. And the people who liked those started doing community events once the developers stopped supporting the events. And now there's like the gauntlet and there's races and there's private leagues and people just like love racing. And I feel like if you like racing in one game, you like racing in every game and you just want more opportunities to race. I can't wait for Last Epoch to garner more of a community and for your races in particular to get like more popularity, just like more people participating in these things. I'm excited for it.
I hope it works out that way. There's more people, the more fun it is, and I know I've got the tech for a lot of stuff already. Just not even races, even more than that too.
So with the
it's
races,
just waiting.
Oh, sorry about that. With the races, you've made a big change for the 084 patch, which started last week Friday, and the first race for this patch is coming up on this upcoming Friday. So in your Discord, in your community, you've already talked about how you're changing it. Could you walk us through what we're expecting for this next patch?
Yeah. So how we were doing it last patch, the differences between then and now, it was 5 softcore weeks with a break between 5 hardcore weeks. That was difficult because there's a lot of situations where I had to artificially balance, and there's always a lot of back and forth on like this should be banned, this should be picked. There's too many bans. These should be picked or not picked. And I wanted to go back to doing mastery only tournaments because that cuts out a lot of like the artificial balancing I had to do. Like if it's an acolyte week, we don't have to ban Reperform and Dreadshade or just like try to get them onto the same playing field. It's a lot easier to just let everybody in the weekend use Dreadshade and then get creative from there. And so that was the main goal. That was the starting point to split it up into mastery. Problem with that is that's 12 weeks, which is an entire patch, and either softcore or hardcore will get shafted. So those have been combined into one. And basically, what I'm going to be doing is pulling like solo ladder, solo softcore, solo hardcore, and merging them into one event. And it's basically at the end, everybody will be on the same ladder, but at the end of the event, it gets split back up, and softcore will be judged against softcore, hardcore will be judged against hardcore, and the top two from each will win the coins.
So the coins, in case people in chat don't know what we're talking about. So these races are supported by EHG.
Yeah, they are.
I guess can you tell us more about that? Like maybe how that started and what that system looks like right now?
Actually, McFluffin put me in contact with EHG, and basically what it is. So far, well, I'll just like we do the tournaments, and I send them the list of names. I organize it by account name, how many wins they have, and then how many coins that would equal out to. But that's about all there is to it. I told him that the format this week or for this next session or next season, I guess, was different, and we're kind of just gonna feel it out and see how that goes. But we'll still have coins for that too.
It's so cool, just like watching EHG decide to support the community stuff that's going on right now. Even like the game's still in early access, the game's still in beta. There's a lot of people who check out the game when these big patches like this past Friday come out. But then even the people who continue to play the game, it's really not that big a community. Maybe like a couple hundred, maybe like a couple thousand, but no, it's a pretty small community. And the fact that they've chosen to go out of the way and support, the races that you do with these MTX points for MTX that isn't even in the game yet, like that's pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, they've always been well with me very supportive with it. Just because I know every time I talk to somebody from EHG, they all say they like the tournament stuff. So I know they like to see their community active and doing things.
I'm curious though, because we have, the big brother developers supporting the tournaments. Is there any kind of like balancing or testing or something along those lines that goes on with the picks and the banned skills across the weekends? Like,
Do you think they
tell you
adjust
what to
stuff?
ban or something?
No, nobody from EHG. I hear from like community members like what to pick and ban, but that's it. I don't have any. Trust me, I don't have any inside information.
They don't tell you like, hey, make sure the picked skill is Spriggan form this weekend because we want to see how busted it really is. Nothing like that.
No,
Oh.
no.
So with those weekends, how about this upcoming weekend? I assume it's Primalist. I don't actually know yet.
Yeah, it's Druid weekend with the 3 transformations is one of the required skills.
That's awesome. I have no idea.
Kings of the Jungle weekend.
I totally no clue. Cynical, are you joining us this weekend? Playing some races?
Yes, I should be able to play this weekend. Finally, after not being able to for a long time because I was stuck in school and work hell.
Well,
I'm excited.
You just told me a second ago what happened with that school thing. You wanna say that out loud?
Yeah. No, I graduated over the weekend. It was very nice. It's nice not having to worry about school anymore. Now I just have to worry about student loan payments. So
I think that's a congratulations, but it's kind of a morbid congratulations.
Right? But no. I was
Student
very
loans.
excited to be done with that. And it's great because like my job I have is just a job where I basically just get a pay bump because I got a degree because my degree applies to my job. So it's very nice that I already have all that set up. It's almost like I planned that or something.
All right. I'll believe
But
it
yeah,
for now, I guess.
I'm definitely going to play in the tournament this weekend. I have no clue what I'm going to play yet, though. I'm still tinkering with stuff and trying to figure stuff out. Man, there's a lot to tinker with in this patch, and I'm really enjoying that.
All right, Grim. Next question's for you then. Are you joining us this weekend? I think your audio might still be muted over there.
Yep.
We're trying to figure out the hotel Wi-Fi thing just to make sure everything works. Nope, we still can't hear you. Tell you what, Grim, if you want to be a member of Twitch chat and tell me if you're planning on playing the weekend, I would love to hear that. Let's see, can I? It still looks like you're muted on Discord. If you can figure that out, go ahead. All right, we're gonna move on then. Grim, if you can figure it out, you can feel free to talk. But it sounds like for right now, you might still be muted on your end. Yeah, it's okay. Hey, listen, these things fine. The more we do these podcasts, the more we figure out the technical difficulties every single time. It's okay.
Exactly.
So Vision, how about more about you? I actually learned recently a little bit more about you and your stream because I was asking you about VisionGL and what the GL was all about. Can you tell me about like your stream career, like what you've been doing and like the community you've been making?
Yeah. Do you want me to explain the GL too?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, anyway, I started streaming again with Raid Shadow Legends for free. That was my big entrance back into the streaming world after a few years of a break.
I love this already. Go ahead.
Yeah. A long time ago, I streamed for a little bit. I streamed Warframe for a while, and I kind of like built up some muscle to be able to talk just nonstop doing that. So re-entry into streaming. I started with Raid Shadow Legends and couldn't really find a home. Did some PoE, did some more Warframe. Came to LE. The GL stands for Game Lounge. Originally, I tried to make Vision my Twitch name, and it was obviously taken already. Game Lounge was too long, so I cut it down to GL.
So whenever I get to spend time in your Twitch chat, it's approximately 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern because that is the time when you stream for some reason.
Yeah.
So 6 o'clock in the morning in the game lounge, it's like the vibe is so laid back, and you have a cat cam set up for Snick, and it's like people come in, it's like good morning this, good morning that. Everyone's got their coffee. I drink my coffee in the evening, but you've got your coffee in the morning, and I don't know, it just seems like a really nice place to be.
I hope so. That's the kind of environment I was trying to create. That's kind of what I thought of. Like when I first came back to streaming, it's more like a laid back and hang out, listen to music kind of thing. Obviously, you have to be kind of entertaining to be a streamer, so I do get a little loud sometimes. But other than that, yeah, I just wanted to have chill vibes there.
So if somebody catches you on Twitch or on YouTube or somewhere, if they see you and you're not in one of your races, what would somebody expect to see from your content?
If they, well,
Like, what are you doing?
I
What are
tried.
you building?
What am I doing right now? The tournaments eat a lot of time and a lot of like brain power and stress. Like, I don't know, like Threshold. So I'm doing that. I stream right now. I'm trying to. I want to do more YouTube, but I'm a slow editor right now, and it's hard to find the time, like the right balance of streaming too much, and like allocating time for YouTube and that sort of thing, and then also like trying to balance a personal life, like after stream.
You have a personal life outside of stream? What?
Yeah, I do. A little bit. Mostly still being a streamer, just on Discord.
It's being a streamer is like it shouldn't be this way. And in terms of mental health, it definitely should not be this way. But it feels like you're also supposed to be on, Twitter and Twitch
Mhm.
and Discord and YouTube, and like you should be in somebody else's Twitch chat as well, making sure you're talking. And like, you know what? I think McFluffin said something recently when I was talking to him, like just like hanging out in his channel, and he was like, I'm gonna go take a break for 10 minutes to go do something because Perry told me not to be afraid of taking breaks while streaming. It's like
Hey, I've been doing that
You
too.
really got to take time for yourself. Just like it's okay. Just like step away, go do something. You can come back later.
Yeah, that's funny. I asked about that one day in your stream when you said that, and I started taking more breaks. So you guys
It's
can
fine. It's fine.
thank Perry. You get more battle royales that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. A
it-
lot of people don't realize it, but the actually me being on camera part is maybe like the least involved of everything else that I have to do, or like just any streamer in general.
What's the fun
There's
part?
so
too.
much
It's
behind the
addicting.
scenes. Yeah.
It helps having a big bottle of water next to you all the time. I don't know if chat has figured this out, but I'm basically always drinking something, which means I always need to go to the bathroom. So like I've got breaks built into my schedule.
Pretty smart.
Now, if you could tell me how to get a cat cam set up, I think I'd be able to catch up with your stream too. That's the kind of community involvement that I need. My cat's all over the
Yeah.
place. How do you get her to sit in one place?
You gotta feed her a lot, and so it's a struggle to move from one location to another. And then you're good. That's it. It's one step.
I want to make a so my wife's pregnant, and that just I feel like I could take that joke and just I'm gonna skip it. I'm the bigger man. It's fine.
I'm going to advise you not make what goes in your brain right now.
Oh, my wife's in Twitch chat. That's good. All right, excellent.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another topic, real smooth. Vision, how have you been enjoying the new patch? So 084 just dropped last week Friday. We've had 3 or 4 days to mess around with it so far. What have you been exploring? What have you been liking? What about crafting? Anything you don't like?
There's nothing that I don't like. I started out like pretty demoralized because I had no clue where to start. I didn't know what, like none of the builds I was messing with like felt like something I wanted to see all the way through. I didn't know if I wanted to start a new character or farm uniques and legendaries. So I started out I started a Primalist. Upheaval sound is bugged. I don't want to play with sound muted on stream. So I started farming uniques on the static orb sorcerer just to see how that's going. And I can hear myself echoing in your
Oh no, let me turn that down a little bit.
throwing me super off.
Oh no, I
So I
apologize.
started farming uniques. Anyway, now I decided to build around the new multi-smite sword, and that's been fun. I feel good now. It's a build that I want to see through. Crafting feels really nice. I think I've made more tier 20s this patch than I've ever made in my entirety of LE.
So first of
yeah,
all,
so
can
far, so
can
good.
you still hear yourself? Is the audio okay?
Just a little bit sometimes.
Okay, just a little bit then. Yeah, so the new crafting, I want to touch on that real quick. You mentioned that you were making more tier 20 items than you've ever made in the past. Holy
Yeah.
moly, I make tier 20 and tier 21, tier 22 items constantly. It's like I pump them out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know. This crafting system is pretty strong.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I think well, I guess the top end more used to be the top end, like tier 20s, tier 21s. Now the top end is more sealed and like legendaries, I feel like. So the top end's been shifted.
I
doesn't
suppose
feel
so.
as-
Okay.
I don't feel like I've got GG items just because I have a random tier 20 now. There's like a higher level of chase, I feel like, beyond that.
So I used to have a really well-geared Devouring Orb character last patch, which has since then ripped to the dungeon boss because holy moly, the dungeon boss. That character, I took the average of all of my gear on that character, and I guess this also includes like, having tier 1 or tier 2 chill on a weapon, which is like, I guess that kind of brings down the average, but tier 2 chill, you know, like it'd still be nice to have tier 5, you know. In any case, I took an average of all my gear, and I had tier 14 gear on average. So like, you know, all
Really?
you know, my gear was like super good. Like I had a bunch of life everywhere. I had all my resistances, my, you know, the damage modifiers that I needed. And I was like walking around 500 corruption. And it's like, you know, I only had tier 14 on average across all my gear. And it's like all of a sudden, like tier 20 is not outrageous. You don't like it. You can realistically expect to get tier 20 gear, you know, every once in a while. Whereas like in the past, it's like outrageous to even consider that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Squid, what's been your experience with the crafting so far?
My experience with the crafting system has been very similar to both of you, where I'm just like pumping out tier 19s and tier 20s like it's nothing. Like I had a craft earlier today on stream that I wish I had clipped at the time. I'm going to go back and find it and clip it, where I had a critical success like 4 times in a row that like ended up with like, yeah, I just ended up with like, I now have a tier 15 item after like 3 crafting attempts, like easy. And I still have, you know, 2 more affixes to like another affix I can mess with or whatever. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like this crafting system's insane. Like my gear today went from like complete trash to like, I'm now cruising on my way to getting through getting to empowered in the span of, you know, 3 hours or whatever.
Were you sealing anything? Were you making legendaries at the time, or is this just like
I
straight up
have-
tier 20?
This is just straight up tier 20 stuff. I haven't sealed anything yet because I'm waiting to get to empowers to find like some exalteds and stuff before I start messing with that. Because I just made a whole fresh level 1 character.
Gotcha. Yeah. So right before the podcast started today, I was making a belt, and it had 3 forging potential left on it. And when you get down to 3 forging potential, it's like, okay, well, you're probably just gonna have 1 more craft because it's gonna consume all 3, right? And like maybe you get like, so when you use a glyph of hope, it's a 25% chance that it doesn't consume FP. So like you have a like 25% chance of like getting 2 crafts, but realistically you're gonna get 1 craft. I got like 8 more crafts. I just kept clicking the plus button, and it just kept working. I feel like that kind of happens a lot. I don't know.
I feel like it happens a lot to me as well, where I'm just like, man, this feels like it's way higher than 25%. Like, I don't know if
this is pretty good.
Like, is this how this is supposed to work, or am I just like unreasonably lucky for like this brief period of time in my life or something?
But it feels good.
It feels great.
And the feel bad moments are gone. They did have a patch. I think it was it yesterday or the day before? There was a small hot fix that came out for last Epoch, and they added minimum. I think it was minimum crafts for white items. So if you have a white item, you're supposed to be able to put 3 affixes on it, or like craft it 3 different times. So like that's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. One of my complaints about the crafting system, just thinking about it recently, was so I guess we'll talk about a few of these, I guess. But like at a low level, when you're first starting out with like a fresh character, if you're picking up items off the ground, it's white items off the ground. It's very hard to craft them and make them usable because you might only get just 1 affix out of it. So that specifically has been fixed, right? I think you can kind of sidestep the entire issue just by like using a loot filter more aggressively, picking up more items. I don't think it's that big a deal, but it is nice that they specifically went out of the way to make leveling a bit better, even after they accidentally nerfed it. I see Grim raising his finger. Grim, are you how's your audio looking over there? Not very good? Got it.
Not good.
Well, the hotel Wi-Fi strikes again. Unfortunately, we can't hear you, Grim. We'll check again in a couple minutes. Uh-oh. Oh, please join back.
Oh, no. That just...
Oh, no. All right. So Vision is Perry. You're Cynical Squid. How come you're always Cynical Squid? No matter who moves where, your face is always in the right place.
Hey!
Grim, you there?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Grim, welcome back.
Okay, awesome.
Well,
Just in time for the podcast. Excellent. I'm happy.
Wanting to ask Vision this damn question this whole time, and every time I try to speak, I wanted to ask him if he's going to update the guide for solo mage this patch, because that's his one build that he's done that I have absolutely loved. And I wanted to know, Vision, are you going to update it and see if you can make it work again or better than what it was previously?
The Roid Mage.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
I
it's in such a
love.
sad state, Grim. The Dreadshade nerf was too hard for it. I'm sorry. I tried it. The solo golem feels so much better because the more damage that got removed from Dreadshade, you can just get that in Bone Curse now. For the golem, I tried it. Oh man, I tried it with the same gear and it was so sad. I actually like other than the Bone Golem, I've not touched Necro since.
Oh man, I love that build. After you first debuted it, I actually tried it out, the solo mage, and I was absolutely impressed with how well it could work, even without the full buffs. There was other things that I put in with the build, and it still worked pretty good with the Roid Mage. So after I first seen you do that, I fell in love with the build. I had to play it, and I played it for probably about 3 weeks trying to mid max it, and then I was like, man, I don't know how to make this any better. I probably need to talk to Vision. But after that, I ended up going out on the road, so I couldn't do it no more. So
That's funny. Yeah, that I don't know. I was really disappointed. It was so fun to play. But Zakar saying in a chat maybe sacrifice. I've heard of that
I think
working.
Sacrifice just got a bug fixed, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
supposedly.
The minion sacrifice I think is pretty good. I know Dread said he's messed with it too. It just takes like extra gear.
Grim, is that the build that you were playing when I first met you? When you were just like
Which
drooling
one?
over Necromancer builds?
I've been playing a lot of Necromancer builds just because, like, everybody always says Necromancer is terrible for DPS and that there's no way to make it work. But Vision made the Roid Mage work for Necromancer, and that was, a solo summon. And it was really good and powerful. So I was like, there's got to be stuff that people are missing with the Necromancers to make the Necromancer better. But as much as I've played it, it becomes this like fine balancing game between your survivability, your minions damage, your minion survivability, and it it would probably take somebody a lot smarter than me to mid max exactly what stats you need in which different slots perfectly to make it work to the best of its ability. Because I am not that good at math, so I will be honest. I suck at math. You're not ever going to find me mid maxing a build that somebody else hasn't already figured out how to mid max.
So I'm always worried about people who play summoner builds because I feel like you should want to deal damage. Like, why are you letting somebody else deal? All right, so Grim, when you say you like summoners, do you like the word necromancer, or do you just like having pets follow you around? Because I might have a build for you.
I like having pets follow me around on the screen and just waylay stuff, but unfortunately in this game they don't waylay stuff like they do in Path of Exile.
All right. So I within 24 hours, I found a busted new unique item. I geared it up better than I've ever geared up any character before, and then I immediately got one shot. So here's the build for you. I think the build's really good. I just died in a stupid way. You should try the squirrel build. If you can find Zizzarin's unique helmet, I forget what the helmet's called, but it's got the word squirrel on it. That thing. It is really good. I like that thing a lot. Having 10 squirrels jumping around and like you can use Fury Leap, and like whenever you leap, you have 10 squirrels furiously leaping after you, jumping on the enemies. It's a vibe. It is good. Oh.
I'll have to try it whenever I get back in town. Like I said, I probably won't be back until February. And if we win this race, I won't be back until May.
Well,
so
I hope
might
you're all
be
the
gone
best.
for a while.
I want you to try
I hope I
squirrels,
win
but
the
I want
race
you to do your stuff in Texas too. What do I think about ice beetles though? Twitch chat, why you gotta be like that?
That's rough.
Why you gotta be like that? So I guess in case anyone doesn't know, I geared up a character in order specifically to beat the tier 4 dungeon boss. And I guess we can talk about that as the next topic, but let's finish this story first. So the tier 4 dungeon boss is brutal. It deals so much damage and it's tanky enough that you need to engage with all the mechanics. So I geared up a character. I wanted to use an Orion's Eye. We had an Orion's Eye to mitigate the damage over time, and then like less fire damage taken because the void is taken as fizz and there's a lot of void damage. And then we used a Wings of Argentus too, and like I was just gonna like keep moving the entire time. I was going to hit the boss so I could get aspect of the boar and have damage mitigation like that on my primalist. And then I'd have, what's the shield called? Bastion of Honor as well for
Bastion.
like max.
Yep.
Like, I tried to make a really tanky character and I was like, okay, here we go. Let's walk into the boss. I'm already dead. Because an ice beetle that I had from a shrine came into the boss room with me, and the ice beetle's aggro range is 16 screens, apparently, and it just walked up to the boss, decided to Leroy Jenkins and start the fight by itself while I stood there and died. So my hot idea was to mute my audio and then hit the record button on OBS because I wanted to record the fight. It didn't really work out the way that I intended it to. So here's the question for the rest of you here. How do you feel about the dungeon?
I enjoy the dungeon itself. The dungeon boss can go die in a fire. I don't like her. I don't like her at all.
She deals a lot of damage.
She does a lot of damage. So I told you I made a brand new character.
Yeah, tell me.
So
Tempest Strike, right?
No, I'm playing Umbral Blades.
Okay.
Playing Umbral Blades. Playing an actual good skill for once in my life. So I get the first temporal key and everything, and I'm excited. I'm like level 53 or 54, something like that. I get a temporal key, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's go do this dungeon. And I'm going through it, and I'm like, man, this is a ton of fun. I'm like bouncing back and forth between the two timeline things. I'm like, yo, this is really sick. This is like some of the most fun I've had playing this game. And I get to the fight, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's like the boss fight. This is going to be awesome. I go in, throw an Umbral Blade, and die. Instant.
That's rough.
I was like, what? I was like, okay, that's fine. I ended up getting a second key and go back in, and this time I'm smart and I phase out into the other timeline.
Right.
Yeah, and then when I phase back into the ruined timeline, the little things are spinning around and they killed me.
Oh.
That's when I was like, yo, my gear sucks, and I'll be back later.
So since we're on the topic of the dungeon and everything, Vision, one of the things that I noticed whenever you're streaming is it seems like every so often you go through like this cycle where you try out different builds and try something new. Is there something new that you've got in store for people that have been watching your stream that you're working on now that entails in using the new legendaries from the dungeons?
Okay. I do have something exciting. It doesn't involve legendaries, though. Usually when an item seems really difficult for me to get, like a Bastion of Honor or a Ravenous Void, it just doesn't exist to me. I don't see that as a possibility. I do have a cool build using one of the new unique swords, though. Electrify Multi-Smite build. That's what I've been pushing. I'm going to min-max that. If I get legendaries, then obviously I'm going to use them. The new Multi-Smite sword. A nice pair of legendary Stormtide would be nice. Stormtide or legendary Wing Guards. It's on my checklist if it's possible to get a good pair.
Sounds so good. Have you done any of the dungeon yet?
Yeah, I have. I did some with my Static Orb Mage the first day.
What are your thoughts on it?
I did. Well, tier 1, 2, and 3, not bad. Tier 4 immediately got one shot by the Void Spinny, so on my min-maxed Static Orb character. It's pretty cool, I think. I feel pretty similar to the dungeon as I did when Echo Webs came out, where it's like there's a lot here. It's a good foundation, and there's also a lot of potential, like with it going forward. I think like all the art for it looks really nice, and the concept with the time shifting ability is pretty cool. And I'm also glad that they have Exalted as a reward at the end, so it's not all about crafting. It's like you actually get a loot drop kind of. It's not like a complete, just you run there to use the forge kind of thing.
I've been thinking about people's builds that they tell me about in Discord, things people chat about in Twitch chat. I've been thinking about all of this in context of the races that you host, because I've been thinking like, are we going to be doing the dungeon during the race weekends? If we have 4 days and you get to empower it at the middle or maybe end or maybe beginning of day 3, end of day 2, like you have maybe a day and a half to do dungeons. Are you going to farm empowered monoliths trying to get the right blessing for your character? Are you going to go try to get like a set unique shield from whatever timeline? Or are you just going to do dungeons because they drop so many exalted items? It's kind of good. I don't mind it at all.
I do think we'll see a lot of dungeon running, just to like throw together any legendary you could have, especially like in the early stages of a character. Probably.
I feel like any legendary item is going to be a pretty okay item. If you get any good stat on a unique item, it's like, yeah, this is great. This is excellent. I've been keeping an eye out for which unique items I use, which are level 76 or higher, and which ones are like only like up to level 75. Because the legendary, or I guess the unique items that require your character level to be above 75, so 76 or higher, you need the tier 4 dungeon in order to make those into legendaries. So for me, currently, like I play in hardcore, and even in softcore, I die all the time. So it feels like any unique item that's level 76 or higher, it feels like it's off limits to me. And that, it feels bad. I feel like I want to take my Baldar's Wrath and make my EQ build better. And I want to take a Marina's Wand and make my, crit Necrotic Lich even better. But those items, I don't have any character across any league that can kill the dungeon boss. So maybe I won't plan on doing that for a weekend tournament.
That. I have a question for you guys. I'm sorry, that made me think of something. I'm kind of curious what you guys are going to do, since we're doing the softcore and hardcore split, what you guys are going to play in. Because I think hardcore is going to pull a lot of non-regular hardcore players because there will be less competition.
It's an interesting thought. So probably to nobody's surprise, I'm planning on playing in hardcore. I don't feel as though the difference between hardcore and softcore is very big in Last Epoch. One of the biggest differences between those two styles of gameplay is like in softcore for these weekend races, you get to, just clench your butt and go as far as you possibly can in the arenas. Whereas in hardcore, once it starts to feel bad, you might portal out and then try again, or you might, put a portal down and then like try to play it safe. Whereas, in softcore, it's just like, Jesus, take the wheel. Let's see if we can survive these monsters who are attacking me right now. So I plan on playing in hardcore, but I don't know. Squid, what do you think?
I'm probably going to play in softcore just because I want to experiment and mess with a bunch of stuff potentially in the build. And doing that in hardcore is asking to make multiple characters, and making multiple characters in a weekend race seems like a bad time.
Yeah, I wouldn't make multiple characters in a weekend race. Nah.
I have less time to play, so like if I get a character to like level 50-ish and then die to something stupid, it sets me back a lot farther.
So I wonder for these races, are we going to see people who like specifically play in hardcore or play in softcore because they think they have a better chance of winning there? I wonder if that'll happen. Like if there's only 5 people playing hardcore, maybe somebody jumps over because they think they have a better chance of actually getting top 2, right? Yeah, I wonder. It's a good question.
I'm not a hardcore man, but even I'm kind of tempted to do it. I just know that the switch that makes me play like a chimp doesn't get turned off, so I'm dead on day 3 for sure.
I tell everyone, if you can get past level 14, you're good. You are a hardcore gamer if you can get past level 14.
Yeah.
It's
like Rune is by far the hardest.
Especially if we're doing Druid, that means we're all playing Primalist. Primalist has a really rough early leveling experience still.
Well, your first 70 points in your mastery are defensive points. So
right.
you don't really get damage until like level 80.
Yeah.
Grim, you over there?
Not anymore.
This is some kind of strange, modern, contemporary artwork. Oh, he's gone.
Oh, jeez. All right. Let's have Grim drop in and out. as he
That's
needs
all
to
right.
talk.
We'll try one more time here. Hello.
There we go. Now,
Hey,
okay, cool. So apparently, every time I mute myself, it doesn't unmute again. So I have to leave channel and come back if I mute. But luckily, the roommate that I'm working with is gone right now, so I don't have to mute. Whenever I get back, I'm playing nothing but hardcore, and this is my reason why. I've noticed the difference whenever I play softcore. I am freaking lazy about my resistances and my defenses. Whenever I play hardcore, I focus so much more harder on my defenses that I think it makes me a better player. So I'm going to stick with the hardcore whenever I get back for the tournaments. And I don't care if there's just me and you, Perry, in it playing, or if there's 20 people playing hardcore. I'm still going to play hardcore just because I want to be a better player at the game.
I'm into that. Sure. Oh, somebody in Twitch chat just pointed this out for us. I'll say that I played a part in this because I really do think that I played a part in this. I did my part to die to crystal elementals in the arena, and because of that, and only because of me, the crystal elementals no longer spawn in arena, which is great. They're not there anymore. Yes.
so does this mean you're going to hit some absurd number like wave 300 or something now?
No, I'll die to something else. Don't worry.
That's
Believe you me, I'll find something to complain about. That's the whole shtick. I don't know. Vision, what's so when it comes to these arena pushes, and like this is like a hardcore, softcore kind of difference. The arena pushes sometimes come down to what people have called fishing, where like you're fishing for the right combination of mobs. And if you don't get them, you just like portal out and try again. Have you heard of people like talk about this, complain about this in the past?
Oh yeah, I feel like it's a thing.
So like, what is there a fix to this? Is this just something that's like always going to be there? What do you think?
I don't know what it is. It feels like there's. I don't know if it's just bias. I've had people call me out and say that it's just a bias before, but man, I feel like if you get a horror specs on the first wave, you're gonna get one on the third and fifth wave too. There's like some kind of spawn groupings. I feel like, or like when it used to be frostworms, you'd get one frostworm on one wave, three waves, five waves. Or if you notice like a lot of one mob type, I feel like they just keep coming back. I feel like fishing is kind of a thing, but I don't know like how true it is. It seems real to me. I believe it's a thing. I feel like I've run into it.
It totally feels real to me. So I guess I'm gonna give a little bit more context in case somebody in the audience doesn't know what we're talking about. So for these races, you want to stay alive as long as possible because the arena, whether you're playing the arena in hardcore or softcore, it's basically hardcore. Like if you die, you're out. So once you get to like maybe 150, maybe 200, 250, you start getting to the place where, the monsters hurt a lot. They deal a lot of damage. And you really don't want to run into 5 diamond matrons who are all standing on top of each other. So what this fishing thing is like, well, at some point, if me and Cynical Squid we're both pro gamers and we're playing the same build and we've both had good RNG and our gear is great, I might get to wave 400 and he's only going to get to wave 200 because at wave 200 he ran into some monsters that I didn't run into. And like it's not really a reflection of like, who's better at the game or who's got a better build. It's actually just RNG at that point. It's like the fishing component of the weekends, it doesn't bug me. I mean, I think it's fine because it affects everyone obviously, but yeah, it's definitely there. I don't know what you could do about it.
I don't know what causes it. I feel like it. I have no clue. I will say, but I feel like it's the same. Just something weird with the code. That's always my guess. I like the same thing that makes 2 diamond matron spawn next to each other on the Solarum Ascent, or like when your Willow Marsh is all matriarchs, patriarchs, and raid leaders. Like I feel like those are related somehow.
I feel like maybe I shouldn't say this, but those are the fun moments. That's kind of enjoyable when you've got 5 diamond matrons on top of each other. And then, your entire map is just like diamond matrons, patriarchs, matriarchs, and I don't know, scalebane bodyguards. Like It really is enjoyable. Like, you're gonna die probably, but it's cool. I don't know, man. There's something there. There's some kind of balance that might be worth investigating.
I think the difference is that I specialize in 0 res, 0 DPS builds, and those are
Oh,
really difficult for me.
got it. Well, you see, technically, resistances are different in Path of Exile and Last Epoch, so you don't actually need res in Last Epoch. It's fine. It's more of a recommendation than a, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. That was it. Tell that to some of the stuff that I fought earlier today on stream. They're like, "What? This idiot ran in here with 10% fire res? Here, have some Ember mages."
Uh-huh. It feels like the game knows, right? Like the game knows that you don't have fire res, and it's like, you sure? You sure you want to rock around with no fire res? Have some Ember mages. They've changed some of the monsters. So we said already that they took out they took out crystal elementals. Crystal elementals do spawn. They still exist in the game, unfortunately, but they no longer spawn in arena at all. So they're no longer going to offshoot, or they're no longer going to off screen me in arena, even if I have a Bastion on, which is great. They've made changes to some other monsters as well. Things like the Ember mages have more of a delay in the fireballs that they call down from the sky. So instead of all of them hitting at the same time, they might be spread out a little bit. Things like oh god, what was his name? Is it the javelin guy, the harpooner guy? He sits on top of a beetle and like he only spawns as one mob and like throws things at you. He instead of throwing harpoons, he like throws meteors. So there's like a circle on the ground, you have a chance to avoid them. So like there are changes like this that EHG, sees us die over and over, and they make changes to make them have more counterplay or not instantly kill you as soon as they appear a screen away from you. So like these kind of things are good. And like it makes me feel like, the devs are watching these weekend races that you host, Vision, and they watch all the rip clips too. Which is great. They're making changes and they're trying to make the game, more palatable, I suppose.
So Mao Mao in chat pointed out that the Scarab Rider guys can one-shot you. He's not lying because that happened to me earlier today.
Oh, but there's a red circle on the ground. You're supposed to avoid the red circle.
Yeah. Well, there were multiple red circles because there were multiple Scarab Riders involved. So
tricky.
Yeah. So I thought my shift was going to take me out of all of them, and it took me to the edge of one of them. And
I had a funny moment earlier today. Had a run in with a newer Last Epoch player who was saying that they had a hard time killing the Emperor of Corpses, which is the 85 monolith boss. It has a big charge up. It stands there for 8 seconds waiting for you to walk away from it, and then, right? And this new player was like, what am I supposed to do? I keep dying to the boss over and over and over. And it's like, well, my first response is, have you tried walking away from it when it does its big charge up? So what we ultimately figured out is like, well, remember, if you put Enrage on a boss, or if you put Attack and Cast Speed, or if you put Frenzy when hit, that makes it shoot its one-shot ability much faster. So instead of you having 8 seconds to walk away from it, you have like 1 second to walk away from it. And it's like, it's information like that, right? That really gets you. It's like, as a new player, you might have figured that out at some point, like maybe after dying 5 or 6 or 7 times. But remembering that echo modifiers apply to these bosses, and like you can run other echoes to get rid of those modifiers, and like it has a countdown of like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's like all these little things, like you learn them. And sometimes, in the case of not crystal elementals, sometimes the things that you learn can actually keep you alive. So I'm glad that these monsters are slowly changing over time to kill us less often.
That is actually the first thing that I check anytime I die in like a mono boss fight. If I feel like I died because I was like, wait a minute, why did that? I don't feel like that should have happened.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I like go, before I re-trigger the boss fight, I look in the bottom left corner. I'm like, what are my modifiers? What am I missing? What did I do to myself? And there's almost always like Frenzy or Enrage or something there. And I'm like, okay, let's go do a couple of other echoes real quick. Let's get this out of here.
Twitch chat's telling me that Bastion is bad if you're not standing on top of a monster. Thank you, Twitch chat. I appreciate you. This is the kind of advantage that streamers get by having a whole audience watching you. Thanks. Great.
Jeez.
Vision, I gotta ask, as long as we're talking about like the new player stuff, do you remember what your new player experience was when you were first getting started in this game?
Yeah, it was a lot different back then. I have one very specific memory, and that's Reimer watching me on a shaman level 6 dying repeatedly in the forge area of Ruined Era, trying to use Maelstrom as my main skill. Back when I started, I feel like it was the Wild West. Like, people weren't building resistances or glancing blow. I feel like we all, like, right after I started, I feel like the community, like, collectively got much better at the game. So, I mean, there were people pushing Arena when I was here, or when I first came, but I don't feel like, I feel like we all got better together, like, pretty shortly after I started playing. So, it felt fine to me. I don't know. I feel like there wasn't a lot of information out there to know that I was doing things wrong.
So when you're a new player and you're streaming on Twitch and you have a developer in chat watching you die over and over, does the developer help or say anything?
Oh, I can't remember. That was 2 years ago. Reimer's a nice guy. I'm sure he did.
Oh, good.
Good,
Good on him.
He probably
Good on him.
laughed for the first 5 deaths, but after that, he probably gave me some advice.
Oh, that's too funny. Listen, I'm just happy that I'm not the only person who dies at level 3. That's, you know what, camaraderie. Thank you for that.
The lizard dies once in the tutorial, like once a weekend. We're not alone.
Thank goodness. Let's see. Are there? Oh, go ahead.
I think another big thing for new players is just like not knowing what skills are good and bad or what nodes to take. Like people will get hung up on certain nodes that are like not super tuned or something like maybe bugged. And I think that trips up people a lot too. That's usually what I'm worried about when I think of my new players out there in the world of Last Epoch trying to come up, and then I don't know, trying to do some weird Marrow Shards build and just getting wrecked in the first, like, one of the first 3 zones.
It does a lot of damage, but yeah, the bug stuff it catches me too. Like I don't like building around bug things. So when it comes to things like umbral blades, for example, like I'm staying away from it. It's a cool skill. It's really neat, but like the best thing you can do with it is have 100 of it, because you're only supposed to have 3 copies of it. So like when it comes to bug skills or things that don't work the way they do, or things that are like, you know, your only good options are taking advantage of these bugs, those are things that really don't make me want to play those particular skills. Grim, I see you raising your finger up there. What's going on?
Yeah. Speaking of new players, I'm very proud of this. I got my cousin to quit playing Path of Exile and start playing Last Epoch, and I got to watch him go through the campaign. There is nothing more excruciating than watching a new player go through the campaign and knowing exactly what resistances they need, and then watching them fail miserably.
I think, wait, you know what? I'm actually proud of you. If you watch somebody else play the game and just like enjoy it and experience it and do it for the first time without telling them what to do, I feel like most people wouldn't do that. But I think you made the right choice. Just let them die. It's fine.
No,
let them figure it out.
My cousin, he played Path of Exile for like years. He should know how to build resistances already.
You know what a fireball looks like. Build some fire res. There you go. Yes. Yeah, I think like that's totally a Twitch chat thing. There have been a handful of people checking out Last Epoch recently because of the new patch. And for example, Tai Killer, he's like a racer from the Path of Exile community, and he's interested in doing these weekend races too, which is just awesome. So he's been learning about the game, and his Twitch, like the title of his stream was, you know, please backseat me. And like, I cannot imagine having 500 people in chat being like, build your fire res, build your fire res. This next zone is necrotic res, build necrotic res. It's like, shut up. Let me die, please. It's a mood.
Jeez.
So
Well, you were mentioning the the unethical Umbral Blade stuff. I've actually gone out of my way not to do any of that stuff because I
Good on you. Good
assume
on
that's getting fixed. It has to be getting fixed, right? Like sooner rather than later.
Well, it
So,
says you have a limit of 3, and some people are walking around with 30. So I
yeah.
think it's probably
Oh,
a
I have
bug.
seen the unethical Umbral Blade stuff, and I'm like, man, that looks super busted. But like, I want to be able to play this skill after they fix that, so I'm gonna find something else to do.
And I hope it
I've just
gets
been
fixed
throwing a bunch of daggers.
before. I hope it gets fixed before, like, Rogue Weekend comes up, or however Vision ends up marking the maybe Blade Dancer Weekend if we're doing it per mastery, right? Like, I want to play the new skill. I don't want to have to play the busted thing.
Well, stacking poison by throwing a bazillion daggers over and over again is really fun. I can tell you that much.
Deal. All right,
All
Graham.
right.
It looks like we're getting close to the top of the hour.
Yeah, it is. It's the top of the hour, guys. We're going to go ahead and call it. Vision, thank you so much for being our guest this week, man. I'm very, very happy to have had you. I've been trying to get you on forever, and it just seems like your schedule just never matched up. So for me, this is a special treat to get to actually have you on the podcast. So again, thank you for being on last week at Epoch with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
And from all of us here at last week of Epoch, that's going to do it for us. We're going to catch you in the next one.